Hello all, welcome to the next session on storage area networks. So let us continue with the module 3 of our syllabus. So in this lecture we'll discuss the following things. So we'll describe what are backup topologies. We have direct backup, LAN and LAN free backup, mixed backup and so on. We'll also describe what are the backup technologies. So what do you mean by backing up to tape, what is backup to disk and backup to virtual tape. So followed by a discussion on data deduplication, and at the end we'll discuss backup in virtualized environments. Let us first see what do you mean by backup topology, or what are the different backup topologies that are available. Three basic topologies are used in backup environment. We have the direct attached backup topology, we have the LAN based backup topology and SAN based backup topology. A mixed topology is also used by combining the LAN based and SAN based topologies. So three basic backup topologies are the DAS based, that is the direct attached based storage, or direct attached based backup. We have the LAN based backup and SAN based backup. So if you are combining a LAN based backup topology and SAN based backup topology, we call it as a mixed backup topology. Let us first see what is this direct attached backup. In a direct attached backup, the storage node is configured on the backup client and the backup device is attached directly to the client. As we can see, the backup device here, it is attached directly to the backup client. Only the metadata is sent to the backup server through the LAN. So in the backup server we are storing only the metadata. So the backup server is connected to the backup client through the local area network. So in this example, the backup device is currently or is directly attached to the dedicated backup client. As we can see here, the backup device is directly attached or connected to a dedicated backup client. As the environment grows, there will be a need for centralized management and sharing of backup devices to optimize the cost. An appropriate solution is required to share the backup devices among multiple servers. Network based topologies such as LAN based and SAN based topologies provide the solution to optimize the utilization of backup devices. So this is a direct attached backup where the backup device is directly attached to the backup client. Okay, so this is direct attached backup topology. As we can see, the data is sent to the backup device and the metadata is sent to the backup server over the local area network. Now let us proceed to the next type of backup, that is LAN based backup. In LAN based backup, the clients, the backup server, storage node and backup devices are all connected using the local area network. As we can see, all these components of the backup architecture, they are connected using a local area network, hence the name LAN based backup topology. The data to be backed up is transferred from the backup client to the backup device over the LAN, which might affect the network performance. Since the entire data, the metadata and every other data is accessing or it's transmitted or received through the LAN, the LAN performance may be affected while the backup is taking place. So this impact can be minimized by adopting a number of measures such as configuring separate networks for backup and installing dedicated storage nodes for some application servers. So if you want better network performance while performing LAN based backup, we can use separate networks for backup and also by installing a dedicated storage nodes for some application servers. So we have the application server on the backup client here, we have the backup server, the storage node and the backup device. As we can see, the data will be sent from the application server or the backup client over the LAN through the storage node and to the backup device, and the metadata from the backup client will be sent to the backup server over the LAN, okay, bypassing the storage node. So this is your LAN based backup topology. Third type of topology that we have is the storage area network based backup topology. It's also called as LAN free backup or SAN based backup topology. A SAN based backup is also known as LAN free backup. The SAN based backup topology is the most appropriate solution when a backup device needs to be shared among multiple clients. So if a backup device needs to be shared with multiple clients, SAN based backup topology is the most appropriate solution. So in this case, the backup device and the clients are attached to the storage area networks. As we can see, the backup device and the backup clients are connected or attached to the storage area network. In this figure, a SAN based backup is shown here. So in this example, a client sends the data to the backup to be backed up to the backup device over the storage area network. As we can see, the application server sends the data to be backed up to the backup device over the storage area network. Therefore, the backup data traffic is restricted only to the storage area network, and only the backup metadata is sent over the local area network. Hence, the LAN performance will not be affected in case of SAN based backup. The volume of metadata is insignificant when compared to the production data. The LAN performance is not degraded in this configuration. So if we don't want the LAN performance to be degraded, we can go for SAN based backup, where most of the data will be sent to be backed up over the storage area network, and only the metadata, which is a minuscule amount of data, that will be sent over the LAN to the backup server. So this is the SAN based backup topology, also known as LAN free topology. Lastly, we have the mixed backup topology. As the name suggests, it uses a combination of LAN based and SAN based topologies, as it is shown in this diagram. So one part we have the LAN based topology, the next part of the diagram it is the SAN based backup topology. This topology might be implemented for several reasons. First reason is cost optimization. Second reason is server location. Third is reduction of administrative workload or the administrative overhead. And the last one is performance considerations. So in mixed backup, so one backup client sends the data over the LAN. So one more backup client will send the data over the SAN to the backup device. Okay, and the metadata will be sent over the LAN to the backup server. So this is a combination of LAN based as well as the SAN based backup topology. Hence it is called as a mixed topology. The mixed topology uses both LAN based and SAN based topology. This topology might be implemented for several reasons, including the cost, server location, reduction in administrative overhead, and performance considerations. Now let us proceed with the backup technology options that we have. We can either backup the data to the tape, can perform backup to a disk, as well as backup to a virtual tape. That is a virtual tape library. Let us try to describe each and everything here. Let us begin with backing up to the tape. Tapes are a low cost solution which are extensively used for backup. The tape drives are used to read and write the data to or from a tape cartridge or a cassette. We use a term called as cartridge or a cassette for a tape drive. The tape drives are referred to as sequential or linear access device because the data is read or written sequentially. Okay, the data that was written initially, that will be at the initial part of the tape. So if you want to access the data, we need to rewind the tape linearly to access that particular data. The tape drive has motorized controls to provide or to move the magnetic tape around, enabling the read-write head to actually read or write the data. Several types of tape cartridges are available. They vary in the size, the capacity, the shape, density, tape length, tape thickness, tape tracks, and supported speeds. So we have a variety of tape drives, tape cartridges, which vary in the size, the capacity, shape, density, and so on. So tape drives read and write the data to and from a tape. Tape cartridges are placed in slots when not in use by a tape drives. Robotic arms are used to move the tape between the cartridge slots and the tape drives. Import export slots or the mails are used to add or remove the tapes from the tape library without opening the access doors. So if you consider a tape library, this is how it looks like. Okay, so it is having robotic arms as it is shown here. So the robotic arms are used to move tapes between the cartridge slots and these are the cartridge slots between the cartridge slots and the tape drives. Similarly, mailbox or the import output slots or import export slots are used to add or remove the tape drives from the library without opening the access doors. So these are the access doors. When a backup process starts, the robotic arm is instructed to load a tape to a tape drive. This process adds delay to the degree depending upon the type of hardware used, but in generally it takes 5 to 10 seconds to mount a tape. After the tape is mounted, additional time is spent to position the heads and validate the header information. This total time is called as the load to ready time, and it can vary from several seconds to minutes. The tape drive receives backup data and stores the data in its internal buffer. This backup data is then returned to the tape in the form of blocks. During this process, it is best to ensure that the tape drive is kept busy continuously to prevent gaps between the blocks. This is accompanied by buffering the data on the tape drives. The speed of the tape drives can also be adjusted to match the data transfer rates. Tape drive streaming or multiple streaming writes data from multiple streams onto a single tape to keep the drive busy. As it is shown in this particular diagram here, multiple streaming improves the media performance, but it has its own associated disadvantage as well. The backup data is interleaved because the data from multiple streams is written on it. Consequently, the data recovery time is increased because all the extra data from the other streams must be read and discarded while recovering a single stream. Many times, even the buffering and the speed adjustments features of a tape drive fail to prevent the gaps, causing something called as the shoe shining effect or the hitching or batch hitchhiking. So shoe shining is repeated back and forth motion of the tape drive that the tape drive makes when there is an interruption in the backup data stream. When the tape operation finishes, the tape rewinds to the starting position and is unmounted. The robotic arm is then instructed to move the unmounted tape back to the slot. Rewind time can range from several seconds to minutes. When a restore is initiated, the backup software identifies which tapes are required. The robotic arm is instructed to move the tape from its slot to a tape drive. If the required tape is not found in the tape library, the backup software displays a message instructing the operator to manually insert the required tape into the tape library. When a file or a group of files requires restores, the tape must move to the file location subsequently before it can start reading. This process can take a significant amount of time, especially if the required files are recorded at the end of the tape. That is our physical tape library. Now let us look at the limitations of the tape drive. Tapes are primarily used for long-term offsite storage because of their low cost. Tapes must be stored in locations with a controlled environment to ensure preservation of the media and to prevent data corruption. Data access in a tape is sequential, which can slow the backup and recovery operations. Tapes are highly susceptible to wear and tear and usually have shorter shelf life. Physical transportation of the tapes to the offsite locations also adds to management overhead and increases the possibility of the loss of tapes during offsite shipments. So these are the limitations of the tape drives. So we had the reliability, that is the performance, mounting, loading to ready, rewind, dismount times. All this takes a bit of time, which degrades the performance of the systems. So it offers sequential access again, which causes the system to slow down. Cannot be accessed by multiple hosts simultaneously. We require a controlled environment for the tape storage. Tapes are susceptible to wear and tear. There are shipping and handling challenges as well as the other tape management challenges. So that is backup to the tape drives. Now let us proceed with backup to the disks. Because of increased availability, low-cost disks are now replaced tapes as a primary device for storing the backup data because of their performance advantages. Backup to disk system offers ease of implementation, reduced total cost of ownership, and improved quality of service. Apart from the performance benefits in terms of data transfer rates, disks also offer faster recovery when compared to tapes. Backing up to a disk requires or backing up to a disk storage systems offer clear advantages due to their inherent random access and RAID protection capabilities. In most environments, backup to disk is used as a staging area where the backup data is temporarily placed before transferring it to the tapes. This enhances the backup performance. So before transferring or staging it to the tapes, the data may be temporarily stored in the disk drives. Some backup products also allow for backup images to remain on the disk for a period of time even after they have been staged. This enables much faster restore. Recovering from a full backup copy stored on disk and kept on site provides the fastest recovery solution. Using a disk enables the creation of full backups more frequently, which in turn improves the recovery point objective and the recovery time objective. Backup to disk does not offer any inherent offsite capability and is dependent on other technologies such as local and remote replication. In addition, some backup products require additional modules and licenses to support backup to the disk, which may also require additional configuration steps, including creation of RAID groups and file system tuning. These activities are not usually performed on the backup or are usually not performed by the backup administrators. So backup to a disk, it's very easy to implement. It offers faster data access, more reliable. It offers random access of data. Multiple hosts can access the disk drives while the backup is being performed, and it enhances overall backup and recovery performance. Now let us just have a brief comparison of the disk versus tape drive, as we can see in this diagram. So to backup data or to backup 60 GB of database, 75 MB mailbox of 800 users. So backup to disk takes only 24 minutes, whereas backup to tape it takes around 108 minutes. So you can see backup to disk is considerably faster while considered to backup to the tape drives. Now let us consider the next option, that is backup to virtual tapes. Virtual tapes are disk drives emulated and presented as tapes to the backup software. So in virtual tapes, we are basically using backup disk drives which are emulated and presented as tapes to the backup software. The key benefit of using a virtual tape is that it does not require any additional module configurations or changes in the legacy backup software. So some backup softwares were meant to be used along with the tapes. So for such softwares, we can emulate the disk drives as tapes and present it to the backup software. This preserves the investment made in the backup software. So we use a virtual tape library for backup to virtual tape. A virtual tape library, or the VTL as it is shortened, has the same components as that of a physical tape library, except that the majority of the components are presented as virtual resources. For the backup software, there is no difference between a physical tape library and a virtual tape library, as it is shown in the diagram which represents the virtual tape library. Virtual tape libraries use the disks as the backup media. Emulation software has a database with a list of virtual tapes, and each virtual tape is assigned a space on a logical unit number, or the LUN. A virtual tape can span multiple LUNs if required. File system awareness is not required while backing up because the virtual tape solution usually uses raw devices. Similar to a physical tape library, a robot mount is virtually performed when a backup process starts in a virtual tape library. However, unlike a physical tape library, where this process involves some mechanical delays, In a virtual tape library, it's almost instantaneous. Even the load to ready time is much less than a physical tape library. After the virtual tape is mounted and the virtual tape drive is positioned, the virtual tape is ready to be used and backup data can be written to it. In most cases, data is written to the virtual tape immediately. Unlike the physical tape library, the virtual tape library is not constrained by the sequential access and the shoe shining effect. When the operation is complete, the backup software issues a rewind command. This rewind is also instantaneous. The virtual tape is then unmounted and the virtual robotic arm is instructed to move it back to the virtual slot. The steps to restore the data are similar to those in a physical tape library, but the restore operation is nearly instantaneous. Even though virtual tapes are based on the physical tape drives, the steps to restore data are similar to those in a physical tape library. Even though the virtual tapes are based on the disks which provide random access, they still emulate the tape behavior. A virtual tape library appliance offers a number of features that are not available with the physical tape libraries. Some virtual tape libraries offer multiple emulation engines configured in an active cluster configuration. An engine is a dedicated server with customized operating system that makes physical disks in the virtual tape library appear as tapes to the backup application. With this feature, the virtual tape library or one engine can pick up virtual resources from another engine in the event of any failure and enable the clients to continue using their assigned virtual resources transparently. So data replication over IP is available with most of the virtual tape library appliances. So these feature enables the virtual tapes to be replicated over an inexpensive IP network or the network site or the remote site. As a result, organizations can comply with offsite requirements for backup data. Connecting the engines of a virtual tape library appliance to a physical tape library enables virtual tapes to be copied onto the physical tapes, which can then be sent to a vault or shipped to an offsite location. Using virtual tapes offers several advantages over both physical tapes and disks. Compared to the physical tapes, virtual tapes offer better single stream performance, better reliability, and random disk access characteristics. Backup and restore operations benefit from the disk's random access characteristics because they are always online and provide faster backup and recovery. Virtual tape drive does not require the usual maintenance tasks associated with a physical tape drive, such as periodic cleaning and the drive calibration. Compared to the backup to a disk devices, a virtual tape library offers easy installation and administration because it is pre-configured by the manufacturer. However, a tape library is generally used only for the backup purposes. In backup to disk environment, the disk systems are used for both production and backup data. So that is our virtual tape library. So we have backup to a disk, backup to a tape, and backup to a virtual tape library where the backup disks are used, but it are presented to the backup software as a virtual tapes. So this table, it's a comparison between the three different backup technologies. So the tape drive, backup to disk, and the virtual tape. Now let us proceed with the new term called as data deduplication. Data deduplication is a process of identifying and eliminating redundant data. So while the backup is being performed, there is also a scenario where redundant data is copied. So data deduplication is the process of identifying and eliminating the redundant data. When duplicate data is detected during the backup, data is discarded and only the pointer is created to refer the copy of the data that is already backed up. Data deduplication helps to reduce the storage requirement for the backup. It shortens the backup window and removes the network burden. Data deduplication also helps to store more backups on the disk and retain the data on the disk for a longer time. Another major benefit of data deduplication is bandwidth optimization. Let us look at the different data deduplication methods. There are two methods of deduplication. First method is called as file level data deduplication. Second method, we have something called as sub-file level deduplication. Determining the uniqueness by implementing either the method offers the following benefits. However, the results can vary. So based upon the uniqueness by implementing either of these methods, the benefits that these methods offers, we can select any of these methods. The differences exist in the amount of data reduction each method produces and the time each approach takes to determine the unique content. Let us first see what do we mean by file level deduplication. File level deduplication, also called as single instance storage, detects and removes redundant copies of identical files. It enables storing only one copy of the file. The subsequent copies are replaced with a pointer that points to the original file. File level deduplication is simple and fast but does not address the problem of duplicate contents inside the files. For example, two 10 MB PowerPoint presentations with the difference in just the title page are not considered as duplicate files and each files will be stored separately. Let us see what is the sub-file level deduplication. Sub-file level deduplication breaks the file into smaller chunks and then uses specialized algorithms to detect redundant data within and across the file. As a result, sub-file deduplication eliminates duplicate data across the files. There are two forms of sub-file deduplication. We have fixed length block and variable length segment. The fixed length block deduplication divides the files into fixed length blocks and uses a hash algorithm to find the duplicate data. Although simple in design, fixed length blocks might miss many opportunities to discover redundant data because the block boundary of similar data might be different. Okay. Consider the addition of a person's name to a document's title page. This shifts the whole document, or it shifts the whole document, and all the blocks appear to have changed, causing the failure of the deduplication method to detect equivalencies. In variable length segment deduplication, if there is a change in the segment, this shifts the whole document and all the blocks appear to have changed, causing the failure of deduplication method to detect equivalencies. In variable length segment deduplication, if there is a change in the segment, the boundary for only that segment is adjusted, leaving the segments unchanged. This method vastly improves the ability to find duplicate data segments compared to the fixed block. So that is file level deduplication and sub-file level deduplication. Now let us try to understand data deduplication implementations. Deduplication for backup can happen at the data source or at the backup target. So if it is done at the data source, we call it as the source-based data deduplication. Let us see what is the source-based data deduplication. Source-based data deduplication eliminates redundant data at the source before it transmits to the backup device. Source-based data deduplication can dramatically reduce the amount of data backup, it can dramatically reduce the amount of backup data sent over the network during the backup process. It provides the benefits of shorter backup window and requires less network bandwidth. There is also a substantial reduction in the capacity required to store the backup images. Source-based deduplication increases the overhead on the backup client, which impacts the performance of the backup and the application running on the client. Source-based deduplication might also require a change of the backup software if it is not supported by the backup software, as it is shown in this diagram. So source-based data deduplication eliminates redundant data at the source. So backup client is the source. So at the source, redundant data will be eliminated before it is sent to the backup device. That is the source-based data deduplication. Similarly, we also have target-based data deduplication. Target-based data deduplication is an alternative to source-based data deduplication. Target-based data deduplication occurs at the backup device, which offloads the backup client from the data deduplication process. It is shown in this particular diagram. In this case, the backup client sends the data to the backup device, and the data is deduplicated at the backup device, either immediately, that is in line, or at scheduled time, that is post process. Because deduplication occurs at the target, all the backup data needs to be transferred over the network, which increases the network bandwidth requirements. Target-based data deduplication does not require any changes in the existing backup software. Now, there are two ways in which we can perform target-based data deduplication. First technique is called as inline deduplication. Inline deduplication performs the deduplication of the data, or performs the inline deduplication performs the deduplication on the backup data before it is stored on the backup device. Hence, this method reduces the storage capacity needed for the backup. Inline deduplication introduces overhead in the form of the time required to identify and remove duplication in the data. So this method is best suited for an environment with a large backup window. We have one more technique in this target-based deduplication called as a post-process deduplication. In post-process deduplication, it enables the backup data to be stored or written on the backup device first and then deduplicated later. This method is suitable for situations with tighter backup windows. However, the post-process deduplication requires more storage capacity to store the backup images before they are deduplicated. So that is target-based deduplication. So in data deduplication implementation, we have two types of implementation: source-based and target-based deduplication. Again, in target-based deduplication, we have two types: inline deduplication and we have post-process deduplication. Let us proceed with the next topic, that is backup in virtualized environments. In a virtualized environment, it is imperative to back up the virtual machine's data, that is the virtual machine operating system, application data and configuration, to prevent its loss or corruption due to human or technical errors. So in virtualized environment, if you are performing the backup of the virtual machine data, we call it as backup in virtual environments. There are two approaches for performing a backup in virtualized environment. The first approach is called as a traditional backup approach. The second approach is called as the backup image based approach. Let us first see what we mean by the traditional backup approach in virtualized environment. In a traditional backup approach, a backup agent is installed on a virtual machine or on the hypervisor, as shown in this diagram. Right? In traditional backup, we have a backup agent. As we can see, this A that represents here, it is installed either on the virtual machines or at the hypervisor. So this diagram shows that the backup agent is at the hypervisor. Here the backup agent runs on the virtual machine. Here the backup agent runs on the hypervisor. If the backup agent is installed on the virtual machine, as it is shown in this diagram here, the virtual machines appear as a physical agent, or appears as a physical server to the agent. The backup agent installed on the virtual machine backs up the virtual machine data to the backup device. The agent does not capture the virtual machine files such as the virtual BIOS file, the virtual swap file, or the virtual machine swap file logs and the configuration files. Therefore, for a virtual machine restore, the user needs to manually recreate the virtual machine and restore the data onto it. So in case of the virtual machine or the backup agent runs on the virtual machine, it does not back up the virtual BIOS file, virtual machine swap file, logs and the configuration file. Therefore, it needs a it needs a manual recreate operation if we want to restore the virtual machine. It backups only the virtual machine data to the backup device. If the backup client is installed on the hypervisor, as it is shown in this particular diagram, the virtual machine appear as a set of files to the agent, so the virtual machine files can be backed up by performing a file system backup from a hypervisor. This approach is relatively simpler because it requires having the agent just on the hypervisor instead of all the virtual machines. The traditional backup method can use high CPU utilization on the server being backed up. That is our traditional backup approach in virtualized environment. Let us proceed with the next type of approach, that is the image based backup approach. In traditional backup approach, the backup should be performed when the server resources are idle or during a low activity period on the network. Also consider allocating enough resources to manage the backup on each server when a large number of virtual machines are in the environment. The use of deduplication techniques significantly reduces the amount of data to be backed up in virtualized environment. The effectiveness of deduplication is identified when virtual machines with similar configurations are deployed in data center. The deduplication types and the methods used in virtualized environments are the same as in the physical environments. Image-based backup operates at the hypervisor level and essentially takes a snapshot of the virtual machine. It creates a copy of the guest OS and all the data that is associated with it. That is a snapshot of the virtual machine disk files, including the virtual machine state and the application configurations. The backup is saved as a single file. Okay, the backup is saved as a single file called as an image, and this image is mounted on the separate physical machine proxy server, which acts as a backup client. That is a proxy server. This proxy server acts as a backup client. The backup software backs up these images normally as it is shown in this diagram. Okay, so image based backup approach, it backs up, it creates a image of the virtual machines. It takes a snapshot of the virtual machine, it creates a copy of the guest operating system and all the data associated with it, including the virtual machine states and the application configuration. The backup is saved as a single file called as an image, which is mounted onto a separate physical machine proxy server, which acts as a backup client. The backup software then backs up these image files normally as it is shown in the diagram here. This effectively offloads the backup processing from the hypervisor and transfers the load onto the proxy server, thereby reducing the impact of the virtual machines running on the hypervisor. So image based backup enables quick restoration of the virtual machines. So in this session we discuss the backup topologies, we discuss data deduplication, we discuss backup methods, and now we discuss backup in virtual environments. Thank you.